Welcome to the Ginger Binger Podcast.
It's Dylan here with my good friend Missy.
Hey.
What's going on, Missy?
Not too much, considering I just interrupted you. If you want to start again, I'm game for that.
No, this is a one-take show.
Oh, fair enough.
Because editing these things take way too much time.
Fair enough, and who has time? Answer, no one.
No one, no. So, now it feels a little more awkward now I'm putting on the show. We were just talking, no problem. So, just a few seconds ago, though, we were talking about, like, Thor being comic relief, and everybody who's hearing this has heard, like, Endgame spoilers. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I do, but I am not caught up, so we can't spoil that one.
Missy, I'm going to spoil it for you. This is what I've invited you here for, to ruin your night.
That's not even fair.
No, that'd be terrible. I could never do that. Did you hear that somebody, I haven't seen it, but I heard that there was somebody in, might have been Tokyo, outside of, like, an Avengers screening, yelling the ending, and someone beat the shit out of them.
Oh, they were hospitalized for it. It was brutal.
Maybe that's going too far to hospitalize them, but you have to send a message in those situations. That's just someone who's out to, like, make other people's lives worse. We have to stop that type of behavior.
So can I know we're just starting here, but can I, like, get all of a sudden deep and philosophical for you?
That's what this podcast is about.
So I saw a wonderful Facebook post that a friend of mine put on, and I'm not going to say who it was just in case they're not cool with me sharing all of this, but I'll say the quote, which is, they said, "I wish that people were as uppity about trigger warnings as they were about spoilers for things." And for me, it just kind of struck a chord because, and I don't know if I've shared this before, this is something I'm super open about. I have PTSD, which, if you remember, I used to have really fun shakes on the boardwalk, which was a good time for all involved.
Yeah. But we got through it, right?
Exactly. And that's the main thing, is you get through it. But I got triggered by certain things. And when people get up in arms and over upset about spoilers, I completely understand that. Everyone understands that. But to think about the idea of people getting up in arms over triggers, you hear, like, millennial snowflake and all of that, and I get that. Like, as someone who can get triggered and, like, it messes up my entire day, I totally understand the whole, like, oh, it's a snowflake, get over it. But if you could prevent someone from having that nasty, awful feeling and being triggered for the rest of the day, why not just respect that with a trigger warning, the same as you do with a spoiler warning?
That's interesting. That's an interesting, do you think, because I find this, sometimes I find certain things, like, I think the word trigger warning has a negative connotation to it. Like, it's the term, like, when you say, and this is going to just, because when I grew up, the word feminist almost had a dirty turn to it, because you had people manipulating and using the worst of people hiding under that banner and pushing that to the forefront.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's how trigger warnings kind of have that same thing. It's because when you really look at it, it's people who just want to let you know so they can avoid going through some emotional stress, right?
Exactly. And for one, like, yes, we have general content warnings and whatnot, which is, like, if we're discussing assault or anything along those lines, we put a content warning on it.
Yeah.
Some people get triggered by strange things. Like, I used to get triggered by the snow. If it would snow. You can't really content warning that.
No.
However, if you've got something that is going to trigger a mass amount of people, that's the real question on it, is can we kind of assist the general populace? But I get what you're saying with the word itself and the connotation and the way that words develop. Yeah. So do we just keep renaming everything to make it so that nothing has a negative connotation? They'll always spin that around to make it bad.
Yeah. Do you think some places like because I do stand-up, where do you think a trigger warning in a stand-up comedy club, do you think that I don't want to say lessens the impact or anything, but do you think going into a place like that, certain things, like topics, are to be expected? Do you know what I mean?
I think that if you are if you're in somewhere that explicitly expects a certain content, then that in itself should have the trigger warning to it. Like, if I were walking, say, into a sex shop, I'm not expecting a trigger warning on every individual item, but I do expect to see it on the sign on the door, 18 plus.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly. So if I'm going in to see, if we went to, like, a comedy club and I'm expecting a good night and everyone, like, not that there's not a good night at a comedy club, but you're going in, you're seeing a variety of acts. Yeah. The acts are all focused on different things, and then someone gets up in front of everyone and just starts hitting off with the rape jokes.
Yeah.
That, for me, I feel like you need a contact warning on that act, or you need a contact warning or content warning on the show itself.
I can understand that.
Because you're not prepared for that specific thing. Like, if I walk into I guess you can go with a million metaphors on this one. You don't need to kind of extrapolate, but just looking at it from that direction.
Interesting, yeah. No, I would say that's fair when you go in, like, just a general warning, like, this show is not censored, this is, like, an 18-plus warning, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think that's, going into that, it's not specific, but it's basically, like, we can go as far as it needs to go, or far as it's gonna go. I find I'm bad with communicating this kind of thing.
No, but I understand where you're at. I guess the main thing, speaking as someone who does get triggered by different assault things along those lines, if I walk in, and speaking as someone who is quite open in terms of my sexuality, if I walk into a sex shop, I expect to see different images of BDSM and things along those lines, and I know that can be triggering, but it makes a huge difference for me when I know I'm walking into that.
Yeah.
If I walk into... Oh, good example. Say I walk into Spencer's in the mall.
Yep, in the back of the store.
In the back of the store, before I had ever been in there before.
I didn't realize that when I first went in there, and I just walked, I was like, oh my God, I'm in a whole different place.
And that's the feeling it is. When you walk into something, be it a comedy club, and all of a sudden this hits you when you're walking out, say you're on the street, and all of a sudden somebody whistles at you on the side of the road.
Yeah.
It immediately gives you that jarring of, oh my God, I'm not where I expected to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's fun. Sometimes you're walking down the side of the road, the snow starts to come down. It's like, oh shit, we're in Nova Scotia. Who knew?
Yeah. It's July.
Exactly. But sometimes it happens, and it hits you, and you say, oh shit, I'm not safe anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between what a trigger is for some people and what, oh, gracious, it's snow in Nova Scotia. The difference is if we know a whole bunch of people have a similar trigger when this one thing happens, why not give them the heads up on that so it doesn't take them out of their safety zone and really put them in a vulnerable position?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one thing. I think, too, when people talk about trigger warnings, they're talking about something very specific. Like, they'll always take, like, the buzzword headline, like you were talking about snow, for example.
Yeah.
Someone would use that as being like, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody's really talking about those specific examples because you can't control that.
Exactly.
It's the mass ones that, okay, a lot of people do have a problem with this. So it's like why we have censorship on TV at 6 o'clock at night. You can't just drop the F-bomb.
And that's exactly it. Looking at those censorships, why are we okay with rating a TV show 18A, but when we go into a comedy club, we don't necessarily say 18A may contain this, that, or the other thing. If we do say that, we've prepared our audience, the audience is ready, and they can make the decision. I know there was a recent show that Neptune did. Neptune is our local theater.
Yeah.
For
not
context.
The god himself.
Not the god himself. Didn't go hanging out, Poseidon, Neptune, all the good stuff. But
No.
There was a recent show they did, and they had a content warning on it saying that it was going to be about adult themes, difficult situations, and pressured sex. And I knew for myself, I love going to support the arts. I love going to see different shows and different actors and whatnot. I knew that I wouldn't be safe going to that show because it wouldn't leave me in a safe state of mind afterwards. That content warning made a huge difference for me and allowed me to also spend my time, my energy, my money on other shows that I knew would be a good fit for me.
That's a really good point. For me, I've always been very anti-censorship, but what you're saying, too, isn't censorship. It's just basically putting a stamp on it that says, this is what to expect, enter at your own peril. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And I completely understand what you're saying, too, in the idea of shock value and the surprise, because there is a certain level of theatrics to that. You want to, for example, if you go into a show and all of a sudden there's fog that's rising, if you saw this show uses fog in it, you're not going to be as surprised by
exactly.
that. So the question then is there a way for us to keep different elements of surprise that aren't going to harm anyone? Because say you have a severe asthmatic in the audience, too.
Yeah.
Is it worth saying, oh, wow, that was a really cool surprise to see the fog, or potentially killing the asthmatic in the first row?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a hard one on there.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I think life is made up of compromises. So to me, this is my opinion on I'm just going to admit this now because I have been called out before, and I just figured it was obvious because when it was a video. I'm pretty sure everybody could tell I was just a white guy.
Yeah.
I'm a white guy, straight. I had to think of that, so I just tick the boxes off for privilege. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Well, except for the rich part, I'm not that, but one day.
One day. We get that hustle on.
I'm gonna get that 1%er badge if I can. If I have to kill 1 million people for it. No. where was I going with this? I got sidetracked.
So looking at the privileges, but also...
Yeah, it's, I lost my train of thought. Maybe I'll just say it's definitely, I can't speak for other people's mental health, and even just in the past 5 years since I've moved out of my small hometown, mental health has definitely taken like a, it's in, I wouldn't say like priority, but like something I'm always considering, trying to not deal with people, handle people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you yourself struggle with mental health at all, or do you find it's just more so prevalent in the world around you?
I find it's more so prevalent in the world around me, and I've tried to take like some deep analyze. When I was a kid, I used to have a wicked temper, but I've learned to control it.
A wicked temper? Never.
I know, right?
What?
I've never yelled at homeless people for trying to extort money from a theater group or anything like that. For everybody who doesn't know, we used to do theater on the boardwalk. We barred on the boardwalk, right?
Barred on the boardwalk.
I was going to say board on the boardwalk, but I was like, no, that's not what we call it.
That's not accurate. We were very entertaining
and
not bored.
Exactly. And there was this gentleman who, I'm using gentleman quotes here, who tried to take a bribe from us, or tried to, get us to bribe him to leave, and I was just like, I'm not handling that. And then he started getting loud at you, and I'm like, I'm definitely not handling this. And then you, being the very smart and mature one, told me to go, Dylan, go stand over there. Go stand over there. I was like being a kid yelled at by his mother. I was like, okay. Yeah. But then I sent Maddie over, and Maddie handled it just fine.
Yes, Maddie's very eloquent when it comes to dealing with extreme situations.
Yeah, that's where I'm not. I just get mad, and I'm like, okay, here we are. Now, are you going to swing, or am I going to swing?
And we diffuse. But
exactly.
Yes, as you were saying, speaking towards previously having a temper.
Yes. I find, for me, I've always found it a little hard to understand empathy.
Okay.
And that's really strange because I wanted to be an actor, and I feel like that's not really something you need to develop. And I went through this in college with someone where it wasn't that I could sympathize with them, but when they say put yourself in their shoes, they were dealing with depression. I couldn't understand, like, okay, why don't we just work towards it? Because I always find I'm a solver. If there's an issue, let's find a way to fix it, and then we go for that. I don't understand, like, just being in that moment and having to just embrace those feelings. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, completely.
So I don't really... Yeah, mental health for me. Actually, here's something interesting. I didn't understand what anxiety was until someone says, no, that you're anxious right now. I always just thought, like, oh, for a second I'm just, like, nervous. But, like, when it comes to... I have this weird fear, or I get anxious when it comes to the wind. Really, and this stems back to... and it's not necessarily the wind blowing on me. It's when I have something that can be blown away. Mm-hmm. Like, if I open, like, my car door, and my car door flies open from the wind, just for a minute, I just have that, like, really, like, deep, like, in the chest type of panic situation.
Yeah.
Or if, like, I have an umbrella that I have to, like, step down and then it blows off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For some reason, that always has made me anxious, and I know what it's from. I used to work at a job where something like that almost happened, and I was so worried about getting fired for getting someone hit in the head. So even then, it's just like, oh.
And it gives you that anxiety that lives in, I know exactly.
Yeah.
That's such a good definition of anxiety, too, and kind of explaining that fear and panic in that moment.
Yeah. It's almost like that moment where it's just like everything stops around you, and your chest is just basically like, I'm going to explode and then contract right quick.
Yeah. And that is such a good explanation for how generalized anxiety disorder affects some people, because it's that feeling, but constant.
Yeah.
But always.
And I never understood it. Like, I always just thought, oh, okay, I just need to get over this. And so I've taken a better stance on, like, trying to, like, understand, or even just be like, listen. Because that's one thing. I'm a dude. I didn't listen. I was a young jackass. I'm still a young jackass, but I'm getting better and better by the day.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. I would say that you have made vast amounts of improvement since I first met you, and you were pretty good when I first met you, too, so...
She's just saying that, guy. As soon as I leave, she can be like, that fucking asshole's still the same. Still a prick. No, it's been a wild ride just these past 5 years, you know? Yeah. I guess. Mental health, though, is, I don't know. It's one of those things that you never really... It was never talked about in school at all. Like, when we talk about mental health, it was someone you always pictured in, like, an asylum.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they were crazy, they're picking at their head.
they've got that whole kind of angst thing. The other kind of image that it always sparks, I know, through junior high, I don't know when you experienced your emo phase, but mine was about junior high when everyone started getting into their emo phase, and that was really where, like, the depressed kind of image came in for me and a lot of my peers, where it was the idea of, as the song goes, I'm an emo kid, non-conforming as can be. You'd be non-conforming too if you look just like me. About the whole wrist cutting and everything along those lines. And it became self-mutilation and self-harm really became the joke and the punchline for a lot of that. And that painted that image of, oh, they only do it for attention, or, oh, it's part of... a phase, right? Exactly. Yeah. And it became a look as opposed to the health condition that we're now finally starting to identify it as.
Absolutely. I never really, I don't think, went through that type of, like, phase in my life.
You're missing out. The arm socks, quality accessory.
I remember seeing a lot of people do it, and they were ginger, and I was just like, that dyed black hair with ginger roots does not look good. If you're listening here, do me a favor. Just stick with the ginge, man. There's very few of us. You're rare and you're sexy.
No, I changed that challenge, and I provide a different recommendation. Please send a picture with solid ginger roots and dyed black hair.
Now I'm just going to get a bunch of news with people with that fucking hair or something like that.
I'm into that. I'm
Missy, I'm going to send them your way right off the bat.
Excellent. Yes. I will thoroughly enjoy them. Mm-hmm. I will write back to every single sender.
Get your man to dye his hair and send it back. Oh, shit. But I know I would have days where I would be a little blue, but that was about as far as it goes. Like, I feel this is a moment where I kind of realized where I was pretty lucky with how so far I've been. Mm-hmm. And I, like, for people listening, I don't want to say I'm bragging, it's just like terms of mental health and health conditions. We were all sitting in the green room in college. It was probably our second year. There's probably 8 of us in the room, and just, I don't know how the conversation got started, but it was like, someone said something that was wrong with them, like, they couldn't, have peanuts or they die, and the other person's like, I suffer from, like, severe depression. One person's like, you know, and it got, like, very bad anger, and one person's like, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and it got to me, and I was just like, I'm pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I had nothing. We were all around the same age, and it was my girlfriend who said, why is nothing wrong with you? I'm like, probably later in life I'll get my fair share of it, and just right now I'm okay. But it was like, really, I was like, holy shit, I really haven't experienced anything. At least negatively. You know what I mean? I'm, you know.
To that different level.
Yeah.
And that's, my partner is neurotypical, so he doesn't identify or has not been diagnosed with any sort of mental health difficulty. Mm. And sometimes the conversation we have is, one that always ends up coming back is, how do you think about nothing? Because I'll ask, how are you feeling? And he's like, I'm good. And I'm like, what do you mean, I'm good?
Me and Shannon have that same discussion. I tell her, there's a window of every day where 15 minutes you just shut your brain off. And Shannon goes, how? You're always thinking about something? I'm like, I'm just not.
Yeah. And that's for, actually, Maddie was the one who introduced this idea to me, which is we always have our tabs open, which is you get to close your windows and you have a nice pretty picture on your desktop and you get to focus on that. I've always got like 15 tabs on the go.
Okay.
It never stops. You close one, 3 more open, you got to pop up. When I start my computer in the morning, you've hit the button that says, okay, I don't want anything to automatically load when I turn this computer on.
Yeah.
Mine, I wake up in the morning and I've got like 18 pop-ups that are coming on. My Adobe Flash is just going on. It's like, by the way, your virus protection is getting low. FYI, you might need this one as well. And MSN Messenger from like 2007 pops up. And it's like, did you remember this person? And that's, you wake up and you're like, ah, yes. This is how I deal with my day now.
That's a really good analogy, because I'm just like, yeah, I can just stare off and just hear the breeze.
No, I wake up in the morning. When someone says they wake up and they don't know if they have the will to live, it's just they wake up, all those tabs suddenly go, and instead of like reacting and being able to deal with them, the computer can't load properly. It's got too much going on. It cannot function. It's stuck in there. And yes, of course, there's tons of things going on. They're thinking out a billion things. But the computer cannot physically move. They can't load. They can't open a new browser. It's not going to happen for them.
You know, with that analogy, I would just want to turn over and go right back to sleep.
And there it is.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord. I could never. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I don't want to say I struggle with addiction. I know I have very heavy potential with that.
Yup. And that's something to totally be conscious about, and it's addictive personality. It's, yeah.
Well, I know that their addiction runs in my family, and minor example. If you put like those candies right in front of me, if you left, I would destroy those. If you went to the bathroom, those things are gone.
Yeah.
But it's also like to the point sometimes where it's like when I start thinking, oh, I could use a drink. Like just have a beer. Nothing wrong with that. Next day, same thing, and then the next day, that's when I start going, okay, now you're starting to worry me a little. And a beer a day is not bad. It's just that I know this will escalate because that's what I do.
Yeah, it's the habit formation.
Yeah, and it's like this is the first time I'm ever gonna say this out loud. I've struggled, and I've still to the point struggle with pornography for the past 6 years. I don't to the point now where I'm getting it a lot under control. But it's like I find sometimes when I find I can't meet a deadline or it's like I'm stuck with the blank writer's page.
Yep.
I'll go do that instead. You know what I mean? It's like takes my mind off it. It centers me.
It's a dopamine rush.
Exactly.
And it's anything that will provide that dopamine rush, I completely understand.
Yeah, and it has affected my life, and I guess that's my thing. It's like I know I have a potential to be an addict, and that's why there are certain things like for the longest time I didn't have booze in my house, but I do now because in the summer I like to have a drink, but I've got that under control. But I know friends that have done Coke, and some people have stuck needles in their arm. Listen, I can't even humor the idea of that because I know I'm going to be hooked for the rest of my life.
Yeah, 100%. That was when weed was legalized. That was one of my bigger fears because I did smoke a fair bit in university, and when I came home, I'd have the occasional joint, but would never really go out of my way to buy it.
Yeah.
Then it became legal, and I was like, oh my god, there's nothing preventing me from smoking weed constantly. Plot twist, there is. It's called income, and I don't have enough of it. But outside of that, it is just, like you said, being able to be aware of it and keeping it in check and knowing, okay, I'm 3 days deep, and I know I've got an addictive personality. Let's walk away while I still can.
Oh my god, yeah. With weed, I actually never started smoking at all until I was 21, and it was in college, and we would be after a long day of prepping or filming, and we'd just all be out in the car and we would say, oh yeah, we gotta get home, we got a lot of shit to do, and then 2 hours later we'd still be smoking 3 joints in the car.
Yeah. Curse you, post-secondary education.
Exactly. And we'd be there what the fuck are we doing with our lives? And we'd be sitting there watching the sunset over Halifax. It was this has been better than any of my college experiences so far. It's those people moments. But yeah, addiction.
Yeah. And that's a good one to mention too, not to kind of stall on the addiction idea, but to speak to the addictive personality, because weed itself isn't necessarily addictive. It doesn't have nicotine or anything in it. But it's
not chemically addictive. You can be mentally addictive though. I've
been told,
yeah.
And it really speaks to the fact of, okay, we need to really be conscious and know that we're going to sit down and either binge on this or have the strength to walk away.
Absolutely. And I love my friends. I found I seem to attract stoners. I don't know if it's just because there's so many stoners, but I attract stoners. So it's I have no problem with them, but I'm looking at that, I'm like, y'all are never on time for shit. I can't do that with myself. Yeah. There's normal time and then there's stoner time. There's a 2-hour window where those two don't meet. It's if I say be there at 7, I really mean you're going to be there for 9:30.
So how come even though I'm sober, I still run on stoner
time? I think that's, you got too many tabs open there, Missy.
Back to the tabs.
Back to the tabs. Dab. Every time I'm at the liquor store and I see the beer dab, I just...
Yeah, gotta throw one up.
Yeah, I almost hit an old lady in the face doing that once because I did it so quick. I didn't realize she was there.
Oh my god. I worked, so the theater I used to work at, it was inside the high school, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much time I'd been spending with the students up until I was talking to a client at one point, and they gave me a direction, and I said, of course. And instead of nodding or doing something normal, I said, of course, and then dabbed at them. It was brutal. They were standing next to the sound booth, and I was like, yeah, of course. And they were like, so we need to have a line of 50 people about here, and we need to get a stanchion set up. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, can you take care of that? And I was like, of course I can. And then just threw up a dab. And there was a moment where I, in my heart of hearts, prayed that they didn't see me dab directly in front of them.
If they would have dabbed back, it would have been a win, right?
Exactly. It's one of those fine lines where it's but dabbing this was still when dabbing was quite fresh, and hurt my credibility a little bit that day, and that's...
Did you tell your students?
Oh, of course I did.
Oh my god.
I walked back into the office and I told the staff, and it was, I'll call him out, it was Aiden, and he was, Aiden McGregor, if you ever hear this, I blame you for the fact that I occasionally dab now. But
You're a good man, Aiden.
Oh, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready at all. I just threw it up, and I was like, oh god, they've gotten me. This is the end.
Hey, it's not as bad as me attempting to floss. I still can't get that coordination right.
You said floss, and this is a testament to the fact that I am actually of a certain age, because I did not at all think the dance at first. I was like, what do you mean you need to do teeth care?
Wow, we are getting old, aren't we, Missy?
I know, right? Ancient.
Mid-20s.
God.
Jesus.
God.
By the time I'm 40, I'm just going to be one ball, just like, hunched over.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate representation of you today, but that's okay.
Ow, shots fired here. Okay. So, we'll move on from this topic, I guess. So, what did you think of Endgame?
Okay. That's a loaded question. So, spoiler alert, for the record. I enjoyed it. I think that, and this is like the big spoiler, like final warning, I'm about to like rip out half of the plot here, don't skip ahead or anything. I think time travel was kind of a cop-out.
Really?
I really feel like there could have been, now mind you, I am not a writer, I don't have all of the answers, but I feel like it has that same sort of flavor of, what if we went back in time and just changed everything? It's like, I'm sorry, if time travel was an option,
yeah,
and Hank Pym existed through all of this time period, you don't think he would have figured that out?
Yeah.
You don't think someone else within this realm would have placed time, the second they were like, quantum, and then Tony sits down and he was like, quantum, would have thought. Fixed it. No.
Like you wrote a paper in the last minute.
You don't spend one night and then be like, oh, I never thought of that. Perhaps this is an entire plot to a 15-movie series that we could suddenly come to an end on. Not fair. Not okay.
I'm going to show you the greatest meme I've ever seen on Endgame.
I challenge you.
For people who are listening, it is just Shrek with his ballsack chin, and he's purple, and he's just the opening of Shrek. He's just so happy.
It's Farmer Thanos.
It's Farmer
Shrek
Thanos.
Version.
Hey,
So,
I understand where Thanos is coming from. I want to be a farmer too. Just get away from the world, You win. The Infinity Fleshlight. I need this.
you need to explain what this is now.
So it appears to be a fleshlight with Thanos' face and the gems around it. And how much does this cost? Everything.
It's beautiful.
It's a work of art. Imagine if that was what he was going after instead of the gauntlet. You know what I mean? Like he's got to stick his dick in instead of snap.
Like
He's just got to thrust. He's got to climax.
No, he's got a helicopter dick.
Oh, God.
This got suddenly very crude. What were we talking about? So, Endgame.
Time travel.
Yes, time travel is a cop-out.
Okay, you think?
I do. I firmly believe that there are other solutions, or you know what? Maybe just destroy half the universe. But time travel is a cop-out if Tony Stark can finish it in an evening where there were other problems throughout all of the Avengers series that took him longer than 24 hours to figure out.
Missy, you've been a great guest. Now get the fuck out of my house. No, I totally get where you're coming from. For me, the part that it lived up to everything I wanted it to. The only thing I would have liked is it's not Thanos that succeeded. It's Thanos who hasn't succeeded yet that is the final battle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Just because it almost feels like a new character because he doesn't realize, he doesn't have that connection with them yet. That was just me, but I was so shocked when they cut his head off right at the beginning. I'm like, are we not going to see Thanos the rest of the movie? I was like, holy shit.
What do we do now?
Yeah. I do have to say, though, when all those portals opened and Ant-Man grew and they just charged, I was like, this is what every fan of comics have ever wanted. Just seeing everybody fighting everybody. Just in one big battle.
So I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. How did you feel about the feminist moment at the end?
Where they all walked in and was badass?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? They built these women up to be badass. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel, like I'll be straight with you. I'm always the person that if I feel it's forced, I call it for it. For me, and this was me. I was saying when Wonder Woman came out. I think Wonder Woman is one of the most overrated movies.
We need a full episode on why I hate Wonder Woman.
Oh my god, yes.
That's a whole... I hate that motherfucking goddamn children's show ass god fucking... Oh my lord, racial stereotype bitch.
I just watched it and everybody's like, this is a great movie. I said, this is boring. I was just like, people, if this was a good movie, I don't care about the politics about it. I just want to see a good story. And this is how, again, you want to just make it more interesting, and this is just me, I'm not the first person to come up with this. Make her side with the Germans in that. She doesn't know the difference between the two sides. It just would make it a little more, like, conflicting.
Here's my thing, is that this Wonder Woman was a great movie if you are between the ages of 8 to 12, and we have not yet figured out that we need to treat Native Americans like people. Fantastic movie if you haven't had anything within that rights. The second you realize that you need to treat Indigenous people with respect, you can't have that movie written the way it was written.
See, now I have to ask, 'cause I don't remember Wonder Woman that much. Can you go deeper into that?
She has 3 goddamn amigos. Here is my... I'm gonna give you my cold notes here. I'm looking at my clock. I'm giving myself 2 minutes. So this is my 2-minute Wonder Woman rant.
I love it.
Oh my fucking god. Okay, so we start. She's on this goddamn island. It's a beautiful island, and then she leaves the island because some motherfucker washed up on the shore. Who the hell cares? Either live your life or don't live your life. Why are you leaving for this guy? So anyway, she leaves. She goes to this world, and then we have a goddamn episode of Care Bears, where she walks around. She got her 3 little padres walking around with her. She's like, got this one guy who's angry all the time because he has PTSD. So I'm going to be the mental stereotype. And then she has our lovely Native American friend, who is beautiful, he's wonderful, and he's tokenized the entire way through. He's a beautiful character, he could be so much more, but instead they're like, Native Americans, let's have smoke signals be a thing.
Yeah.
Not even happy. So we've got Care Bear number 1, Care Bear number 2, and like Goldilocks is walking around and being like, look, it's the Chris, not the good one, not the Pratt, not the Hemsworth, I don't even know his last name, Pine. So, she's got the lesser of the Chris's because the other ones are off doing good movies with Marvel. So, where am I at here? I got 1 minute left.
Oh,
so, she parades around. I gotta stand up because I'm getting too heated. She parades around, and then she's like, look at this lovely Chris fellow. Perhaps we should have coitus. And then she has sex with him, which is bullshit. She has lived on the island of Lesbos. And then she's like, oh, this is so great. No, he was pitiful, and you can't tell me he wasn't pitiful. So she has all of this. He flies off, he dies, and she's sad about it for some fucking reason, because we know he wasn't good in bed, and he did nothing for the plot. Oh, and what's her third friend? I can't remember her third friend. This is how much they did not affect the plot of these 3 key people. They didn't do anything for the story. Who was it? It was her Native American friend. It was the guy with PTSD. Was it?
Was the other guy Mexican?
Probably.
Yeah.
He was some sort of racial stereotype. Oh my god. Yes, he was. He was a lovely Spanish man who did nothing but live in a racial stereotype. So what do you do when you get the casting call for this? You're like, oh yeah, I get to be in Wonder Woman's main posse. So here's my big problem. We've got this beautiful movie that everyone's like, rah, rah, feminist movie. We have one girl in the lead, and our 2 beautiful, amazing generals die so early on, and they do absolutely nothing to this plot to help it move forward.
Yeah.
We have our 3 wonderful, diverse characters who deal with different nationalities and mental illness, and they're tokenized so far that they all have their own special scene where it's like, I get a taco, I shake around and I have PTSD, look at the smoke signals. Like, that is not helpful to anyone who's trying to build a character arc about how these people influenced the First World War.
Yeah.
And then we've got our one lady hero, who at the very end still has to be saved by a guy. What the fuck? Okay, I'm done.
That was beautiful. I want you to go up on stage and do stand-up with that, Missy.
I got one more. So here's the thing. We got one interesting woman. We got a real interesting woman who's got some good fucking merit underneath her belt. The only person we see with a motherfucking disability in this goddamn movie is the woman who has half a mask on her face because half of her face has been paralyzed. And what's her entire plot list? She's in love with one of the other villains. Why are these women following all of this bullshit for just these random men they love? She could have have been such a cool character. But instead they're like, I'm disabled, so I must be evil and wear half a mask. Phantom of the Opera got a better deal than that, for fuck's sakes, calm down.
I love it. Yours is so, like, personal, like, for, like, the message. I was like, this is just a boring movie.
Like, that's fair, but, like...
I appreciate that. I feel good that someone else, though, acknowledges that they didn't like it. Because I feel like when that movie came out, and same with Black Panther, saying you didn't like it got you that... You got a problem with, you know?
I'm sorry, I just need to ask, though, did you not like Black Panther?
No, I thought Black Panther was fine.
Black Panther was a good fucking movie.
I think Black Panther was overhyped, though, because here's the reason why. Villain, great. Boring-ass hero, though. T'Challa really didn't do much for me.
That's fair if you see T'Challa as the main hero.
Who would you... Oh, are you saying Killmonger is the main hero?
No!
Oh. Who?
Shuri.
Who?
His sister.
Ah.
Oh, don't you at me. She is the most amazing Marvel hero in the world. Anyway, so...
No,
we're in agreement on that, though.
Yeah, I liked Black Panther. I really thought... I just wanted more from it. That's all I wanted. It was one of those movies that I wanted more. Wonder Woman, I wanted it to be great. I wanted to blow every movie out of the water for the reason being... I wish we lived in a world, and this is my hopeful, naive, stupid reality. I wish we lived in a world where a female-led superhero movie wasn't a big deal. It was just a movie that you could go see and enjoy. Like, it wasn't... You didn't feel like you had to take a side for it. It's just like... Because I just look at it, I'm like, I want this to be good, and if it's good, I'll buy I'll buy it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
If it's not, I'm going to let you know. I'm not going to pretend it's good, so it, But what that movie probably did for younger women, I'm all for.
And that's what I'm saying. If you look at it, Wonder Woman is a great movie if you are between the ages of 6 to 12, and you understand that what they did to the racial stereotypes was wrong. You need the disclaimer that says these are no longer accurate representations of how people should be treated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it fit right into its World War I, like, era. Like, nailed it. Like, this is what the media should be. But perhaps, since, it didn't come out in the 1930s slash 1940,
should be a little updated.
Maybe perhaps give the characters some sustenance instead of, smoke signals. Oh, yes, my tribe, I believe in animals. There is so much fucking more, and you did not give it to that character. Now I'm mad again.
Oh, yeah. I think there's one thing that pisses me off is, like, a very flat, one-dimensional character, or Mary Sue. And, like the whole character who's so perfect. And I find this with... And I don't want to come off as misogynistic, so I'm just going to preface that.
For those of you listening at home, I'll call him on his shit as he is.
Oh, she will, too. There seems to be, when it comes to writing a female character who's supposed to be strong, they overcompensate with it and make her either, not too strong, but almost invulnerable. There's no flaws to it on poorly written characters.
And I will agree on the poorly written characters side.
Now, I love myself some really, like, Game of Thrones does it perfect. Cersei Lannister is one of the most complex, strong characters.
I swear to fuck if you spoil this for me, Dylan.
No. I just have to say Cersei Lannister is probably one of my favorite characters. And she's a terrible person that I empathize with, and she's such a badass, though.
Yes.
And it doesn't feel like... I'm not as big of a Daenerys fan, because I feel sometimes they push that a little too hard, that she's got dragons and she's boss. I'm all for that.
She got dragons and she's boss. I'm all for that.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just find sometimes that there are some... They compensate... It's almost like people who don't write characters as people, they write them as, like, this person's going to be a strong woman. That's her character. She's just a strong woman. She's not a person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I 100% get what you're saying.
Yeah. And again, I have no problem, and I feel like I shouldn't have to preface this. Just write a good character. Just make a good movie. That's all I want. I want a good movie out of it.
Well, and you look at it when this new Star Wars movie came out, and everyone was like, oh, Reason Mary Sue, I'm like, have you seen motherfucking Luke Skywalker? Me, I don't want to go with the sheepers.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Totally.
And suddenly he's a fighter pilot. Like, whatever. If you're going to call it for both, not just one.
Exactly. Here's the thing. I like Rey in the Star Wars movies. The only thing I would say with her, I just wanted to see her have a moment of... And this was when, what was it? Not A New Hope. A New Hope redone. What's it called? Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I just wanted her to have a moment where she failed at something. Because the whole movie, she finds success right away.
Yeah.
I just wanted that one moment where it's just like, she tried it and it backfired, just to see what her reaction would be to that.
No, 100%.
Yeah, but I just love me some 3-dimensional characters. That's all.
No, 100%. And I mean, I'm not going to complain about Ben Swallow anytime soon, so.
Do you not like Kylo?
No, I'm totally fine with it. I just think that he is, quite strangely proportioned in that one scene where they make him shirtless for no reason.
Yeah, he does look really wide, doesn't he? For then he normally doesn't. I'm just
He normally don't look that wide, and I'm cool if he wants to be like, if they want to make a ripped villain / hero / what have you, go nuts. I'm all for ripped people, but he just looked like they stretched the seam the wrong way.
I totally agree. I was like, something's off about that body.
Yeah.
I heard a reviewer though say he called that moment. He's like, when Rey saw him with his shirt off, if she didn't want to sit on his face in that moment, and I was just like, ugh, I didn't even think of it that way.
No, boy is thicker than a bowl of oatmeal.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
I have to say, people complain about Kylo Ren. I like him. I kind of like he's not the big badass he wants to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that he doesn't live up to that. I'm like, that's a millennial problem right there.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where it's like we aspire to be like these, like our parents and the generation before, and it's just like we're not. It's almost, and I think every generation has that. Like, you want to be as tough as their generation, but it's like you're going through different problems.
Yeah. Do you want to know what's hilarious?
Mm.
I did this the other day. My parents are in the process of selling my childhood home.
Oh God.
That's okay. It already burnt down once. I'm over the whole feelings.
Did you burn it down?
No, I did not, actually. I was in university and found out by Twitter, but that's a whole other discussion.
Hey, the fire department at Missy, check it out.
And it was my sister, and she did that, and I was in rehearsal, and my next-door neighbor was acting alongside me. He sneakily checked his phone and was like, Missy needs to leave right now. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I can't tell you because I'll be in trouble, but you need to leave right now. Sister posts a pic of the house in flames, deuces up in front of the fire hydrant next door, like, what up?
Are you serious?
Yes! The basement burnt down, so in turn, everything else was normal, but I lost my room.
Damn.
Yeah. Like, thanks, Mom and Dad, you need to set the house on fire to get me to move out, but whatever. Anyway, where was I going with this? Because my parents are selling their home, right?
Yeah.
Living up to expectations, I really wanted to own a home at some point.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Currently, the partner I'm currently with, he, true to my Missy ways, he has a house, a car, good credit, all that good stuff. But the house that we now own together, we live in the beautiful, upstanding area of Lower Sackville. I know, it's gorgeous, and we live in a trailer park. Sorry, a mobile home estate. Damn. Yeah, a manor, if you will. And our home, our lovely little mobile home, with no yard to speak of, and gorgeous, lovely neighbors, as well as you can imagine for Sackville.
Yep.
Cost more than my parents' lovely home in the middle of suburbia, which is 2 floors and has a full gated backyard.
How is that possible?
Because they bought it 25 years earlier than we did.
Yep. Wages going down, prices going up. What I'm looking to do is buy land back home and just land. That way I get it for cheaper.
When you say back home, are you referring to Ireland, or are you referring to...
I'm back home, back in the old country. Back in the valley.
Oh, nice.
I just want to have a couple, I want to get enough acres so I don't have to see the road. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's fair. I'm into that.
I just want to have a long-ass driveway, so if you're coming up, I can see you, but you can't see me right away.
So I have an also millennial solution to this, which is we just make you play video games too close to the TV so we shoot your eyesight, and then you can have about a driveway's worth of land, and you won't be able to see the road.
Damn, that might be a good idea.
I know, right?
And I like Fortnite.
I'm a fucking genius.
Modern solutions. Mm-hmm. Modern problems require modern solutions. Fuck. No, it is totally, like, I do love when I still hear, and I shouldn't say I hear, this is all online, where it's people, millennials just need to work harder. It's like, buddy, you're living with outdated information. You think buying a house right now is the same as it was when the dollar's not worth as much. The housing market is outrageous. You get way less for way more.
Yeah.
And they're, what's the figure? Like, getting a one-person job earning, what, $40,000 a year with 2 cars, a nice house, family of 4, support? It's like...
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen at all.
But I mean, part of that too is like every generation has had their gripe with the previous generation.
Oh my god,
everyone's had.
We'll have ours too. We're gonna live long enough to see ourselves become the asshole.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the big part of it. And like,
and I'm gonna embrace it. I'm gonna just start picking on the kids.
Have you seen the one where it's like, I say the one automatically assuming everyone knows I mean the meme. Where it's like the guy walks in eating the bowl of cereal. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Fighting the power." And the guy's like, "Good job. Screw the man." And it's just like Gen Y, Gen Z. And it kills me because like we have the next generation. They've got this like optimistic attitude towards things. And it's like, of course they do. The pendulum swings. We're all fucking nihilist, depressed, and hate everything. And we talk about how much we hate the baby boomers. Of course the ones coming after us are like, "We're going to fix it all." It's like, good job. Go do it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you guys do that, please let me. What I want to help fix. My dream for Halifax, and this is a shot in the dark. I want to turn Halifax into like the booming East Coast for filming, like actually like not just Toronto, but you know what I mean? Because there are so many good locations here. Like I want to basically turn it into a mini Hollywood. I'm
going to name drop here. How the fuck you gonna do that when you got people like Diana Whalen and our god lovely premier?
Oh, big deal, Stephen McNeil.
Yeah.
That's what I call him, big deal, Stephen McNeil.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna body slam Stephen McNeil.
All right.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. If watch something happens to Stephen McNeil, like Trace, they come back. It's like, no, that was just a joke, guys.
We were listening to the Ginger Binger. We know it was you, Robbins.
No, I really think. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I just know that's what I want, and I'm just going to chase that right now. You know what I mean? My game plan is like, first, and I'm not trying to knock any talent here in Halifax. We have some very talented people. I feel like what people are making here, though, is strictly for the people that are coming to the theater to see it in this town.
Masturbatory theater.
Yes. I really got that feeling here from the arts community. Now, not all, but I'm like, what we need is just a company to start up, and they're just making stuff that people can relate to and people want to see in other countries, and that's really what I want, because it's great to tell a personal story. That's not who I am, though. I want to tell a story that's like, oh my god, did you see what that happened? I have an idea that eventually one day it's like, why don't I have a Western and make it like a haunted house movie? You know what I mean? Have a werewolf chasing the cowboy through a thing. It's like, I'd fucking pay to see that.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's it's obviously in its conception stages, but like that's the thing. I think everybody just wants to be the next artist instead of being the next. I don't know, people, and this is again me being naive. Artist and business has to mix, and sometimes I find a few people who lean in too far on the artist side, and that's just me. I don't know how I'm going to fix it. I don't know how I'm going to change it, but.
Now, I will say people leaning too hard on the artist side is completely valid, but also there's an issue of people on the business side not listening.
Totally. Oh my god, yeah.
Not understanding what's there. So we have a beautiful audience demographic here. We have a committed audience. If we didn't have a committed audience, we wouldn't be able to have Neptune have the success it was. We wouldn't be able to have the thriving independent theater community we have.
Oh yeah.
And as masturbatory as it is, there's still a large enough masturbatory audience to keep it going.
Totally.
The issue is that when we look at the big business and the people who have the budgets for larger advertising, who have the big budgets, who are able to tour a show out, who are able to be a presenting sponsor, they're not bringing forward the artistic integrity that these little companies who don't have the funding are producing. And these little companies have become so jaded because of their bad experiences dealing with so many people who are pushing it the opposite way that you end up with this complete concrete divide. And the only theater that really has been flourishing on a financial level as well as on an financial as well as on an artistic level is what you see at Neptune.
Yeah. And
part of that is because it marries these directors and the theater school and has some local talent working within it,
Yeah.
albeit while it's under new management, there is kind of an influx going there.
Yeah.
But then we also have the Torontonian talent, which, because of the way it's marketed, that's what brings in the larger audience in Halifax.
Which I'm disappointed by, because one thing that's always driven me nuts with anything that's filmed here, anybody who they film are people from Toronto, but they're not names that I would say Joe Blow has heard of. They're just from Toronto. They're from Vancouver. It's like they've done an appearance on like a small time role on like The Flash, and it was like a one note thing. I'm like, why don't we, if we're basically taking the same amount of risk on a nobody, and I don't mean that to like disrespect anybody, but it's the same level. Like if I can say their name to my mother and they know who they are. Okay, that's a completely different thing.
When your baby boomer mother knows who someone is, they made it.
They are someone, you know what I mean? When I have to, oh, they were in this, Mama goes, what the fuck? Then it's like, we might as well just have somebody brand new work for cheaper. That's just me. I'm trying to, I would love to be able to be like, yeah, we're just going to use Halifax talents on this. I don't really want to use Toronto. I hate Toronto as a city. I've been there, and here's the thing. I shouldn't say hate it. It's a lovely, geographical city. The people I met there, everybody was an asshole to me.
Fair enough. I can't speak towards that.
No, I just had a bad experience. It was just I've never traveled via plane before, so I went there, and everything about that trip was just down fucking hill. I spent a week at the airport.
So long as it's not the plane going, you're okay.
At one point, I'd rather the plane just fucking crash with how long. There was a point where we were flying from Hamilton to Halifax. That's a 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
Not bad. We get over Halifax Airport, and then we just get a note from the captain. We will be not landing in Halifax tonight. We will be returning to Hamilton due to weather. And I'm like...
We are in the air, friend. Yeah. What?
Exactly. And it's just... It was with Swoop Airlines. Fuck Swoop Airlines.
Oh, right. That was fun, wasn't it?
Oh, God. Never again.
Are they still in business?
Not if I have my way. Oh, it was terrible. And it was just next time I'm taking a normal fucking, charter flight with a company that will put me up in a hotel. Because by the end of it, I was like a homeless man in the airport. I smelled bad. It became like a prison yard, I say, because everybody's starting to hang around with certain cliques. I was by the outlet with the comfy chair, and I wasn't leaving. I was like, I'll shit myself before I leave this outlet. No, it was terrible. But no, I just feel like we were... I think it's kind of just in the situation we're in. I don't think anybody wants to, but we're relying really on that Toronto talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm not sure if this really speaks directly to it, but something that I took away and kind of gave me a new light looking on the Toronto talent versus Halifax talent. When Picnic Face actually went out and did a tour in Toronto, they had massive success when they went out, which kind of led to their TV show and everything along those lines. And I'm trying to remember where it was they were talking about it. I believe it was Bill Wood and a couple other members who were discussing this, about how when they did go into Toronto, they had such a leg up because everyone who was native to Toronto, this was their first time bringing out their material. It was their test material. Yeah. When they came out, they had already tested it all in Halifax. They knew what worked. They knew what didn't work. Yeah. They came out and they looked like, oh yeah, we're the new guys, but then they knocked it into the park because they had their A game ready.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when we've got people who are bringing in from Toronto, we say they're Toronto names, but how many of them are, to find the phrase, born and bred in Toronto?
Yeah.
Or how many of these people are just now having their career in Toronto because they've tested elsewhere, come in and come back?
Yeah.
We see quite a few people from Halifax who go out to Toronto and then eventually come back once they've gotten Toronto's smell all over them.
Yeah.
And it looks like we won't take them until they've got that Torontonian reputation. But part of it, too, is the experience of whatever's happening out there.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
No. That's a unique perspective of putting it. I just have the dream where it's I can just be like, yeah, no, we're doing our own thing over here. And again, that's completely naive. I know it is. But with the age of the internet, it's you don't have to go out to get your stuff seen. It's more of just that constant hustle of putting out stuff and just get growing and getting better with it and marketing it. That's the one thing I find hard about this podcast is figuring out how to get people to listen to it other than just my friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Where's the marketability and where is the business side, as you're saying.
Especially because, what do they say? You have so much opportunity now that everybody can basically make their own stuff.
Yeah.
Problem with that is there's so much shit out there. You're not too many people want to venture and shuffle through all the shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you find your fine audience? And I've done, since my previous job, I've done so much kind of baptism by fire in terms of marketing, what works, what doesn't work. And everyone who works in an advertising industry will tell you that their marketing is the be-all, end-all.
Yeah.
Nothing beats a glow sign, in my personal understanding, and what I've found for sales. I've done radio ads, I've done TV ads, everything along these lines. I've done paper, I've done posters, I've done interviews, ticket draws, social media, all of this. Nothing will draw in a human like a goddamn glow sign on the side of the highway. If you want to see sales boost, honest to God, the one thing that works, regardless of if you're selling tickets, if you're trying to do enrollment, if you're trying to boost something, the only thing that I have seen that really works is the glow sign on the side of the highway. And it's how bored are people?
Yeah.
And how do you get them to isolate it, see it, and like, debate it?
Exactly. That's interesting. I've always under the assumption, or my way of always, if I can make you laugh, if I can get you to laugh hard enough that you want to tell it to your friend, that word of mouth. See, word of mouth is the most powerful thing we can do.
Agreed, 100%.
Especially if it's funny. People don't really want to show something as deep and meaningful. You get that smaller crowd, but if it's funny, man, you're gonna have people showing their grandmothers like, check this out. You know what I mean? So that's kind of really where I want to go with that.
Ooh, I need to interrupt you here because this needs to be said.
All right.
About 3, almost 4 years ago now, a woman had an idea. And this woman was Madeline Tench, and her idea was meme ads. She was on the cutting edge of this. By God, she had the most beautiful brainchild, and we were working together at the time, and we started producing meme ads, and the children loved them, and it just seemed it was a little too ahead of its time. Was it not last year we turned upon the TV to see that Call of Duty was doing an advertisement with the singing cowboy in the background, and they had done a meme ad, and Maddie called me, and she was like, they fucking stole it! They took it from me! This was my idea! And it's just, you will see, meme ads, next big thing.
Yep.
Her idea.
It's over for the little guy, isn't it?
It's done.
You know, no matter how much viewers you can get, it's that cash that still...
Oh, man.
You know, I'm just going to fund my films with crime. I'm just going to sell drugs.
I'm not against that. The art market is great for laundering.
Oh, man. I was like, what if someone just laundered, like, with Twitch? You know what I mean? Just with, like, you know, prepaid visas and donated, you know what I mean? I was like, I was like, that seems like a really good idea. I don't know how PayPal works, so maybe you can't use a prepaid card.
You can...
But
like, for crime laundering through Twitch?
Well, no, it's like you donate to somebody. The person you're donating to, that makes it clean money. They have an account, but those accounts you can't really trace back to anybody if you're using prepaid. But I don't think you can now that I'm saying it out loud.
No, it's got to be... Your best bet, honestly, is to do it through the fine arts market. Mm-hmm. Because you can set art at whatever price you want.
Yeah.
I can doodle a picture. In fact, for those of you listening at home, I have now taken 2... what are these things called? Fuzzy peaches and a chocolate-covered banana.
I was wondering what those were. I was eating them. I'm like, this tastes like banana.
Yeah. And put them... This, Dylan, costs $30,000 now. You can buy it assembled, or unassembled, and you can reassemble it yourself, but this costs $30,000, and I want it in cash.
25.
Fair enough. But now, regardless of what you're paying me for, be it drugs, prostitution, whatever, we've got this legal transaction because I'm an artist. I have a bachelor in fine arts.
Yep.
That's a legal transaction right there.
Well, I think I've looked up how to launder money because I've always wondered, like, how the fuck does it work? It's like basically creating enough distance between you and that dirty money. So, like, transaction. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, you do have to take it on the, like, if you go in with, like, $500,000, you might walk out with 380 in clean money, but it's like, you still are walking away with $380,000, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, it's bang, you can't do shit about it, government.
Yep. Hilarious.
I was going to say, now the government's coming for me.
Government doesn't care about you until you're a 1%er, Dylan. And then you just get to be president of the United States.
Of course. The biggest crime in this world is robbing from the rich, didn't you know?
Eat the rich. I'm such a huge fan of that idea. Really, though, it would solve so many problems.
Oh, man. I've always been interested, like, I never think that there should be a cap on, like, money, but, like, even to a point where, like, okay, some people are getting too much power where it's like, this is dangerous if left unchecked.
Yeah. Are you familiar with, oh God, what's the author's name? Is it Jonathan Swift, A Modest Proposal? Mm-mm. It's a very it's famous work. Essentially what it is a long-winded essay about how we can solve all of the world's problems by eating babies. But not Jonathan Swift's babies, other people's babies.
No, it's always other people's babies,
exactly.
Isn't it?
And it's very articulate, it's a very well-written thing, and it became famous as A Modest Proposal because it was about how fucking ridiculous, but these theories come into play.
Yeah.
So, if we look at that, eat the rich, of course, that would fucking work.
Yeah.
But why don't we just, stop destroying the planet, laundering money, and being dicks?
Well, that's the thing. It's these tax breaks. And in theory, the whole idea, like, what is it, trickle-down economics? The more they save, the more they put into the economy. No, the more they hoard. That's what it is. It's not putting it back into the economy. That's one thing. If I ever own my own company, I do want to be as, like, remember where I came from, where it's like, yes, I want these people to have a health plan. It might cost my company more, but you know what? You can't buy a reputation. No matter how much you want, your name, no matter how much money you have, will always be dirty if you're a dirty person.
I disagree. I think that, to a point, like, look at people who have positive names. Mm-hmm. Their net income for themselves are still significantly higher than anything else.
It's true.
Like, the net income of, say, Bill Gates or Oprah Winfrey, we know these as great humanitarians to an extent, mind you. Like, there's the scandals here, there, and everywhere. But these individuals could make major contributions. These individuals have billions that could go towards ending so much stuff, yet they don't. They hoard that money. True. But because they do spend a portion on humanitarian work, we view them as good people.
I don't think that's a symptom of... It's basically we're looking at, like, the public are looking at all these people that could be donating, and we're choosing them because they're doing something. So therefore, we kind of take that as the good. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Point taken, though.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good point to say this person's doing something. Let's crucify them is hurtful. Whereas if we look at someone who's saying they're doing nothing, perhaps we should, get the fuck on their case.
Well, I was gonna say, what is it? What's the saying? Like, for evil to win, it's good men doing nothing.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's true. If you're not on the ball game, get the fuck out of the field. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know.
Unless you have a dog, I'm okay with watching you with a dog in the field. But that's my privilege speaking. Okay, so here's a question for you.
All right.
So you and I have quite a bit of privilege between the two of us.
Yeah.
What can our voice do? What should we be doing? Where you mentioned before, like, we are both straight, I'll say heteroflexible.
Yeah.
Straight passing, straight presenting, cisgendered, white, like, decently, we're upper middle class, whether we like it or not. We've got a roof over our head, we've got food to eat. We're not 1%ers, but we're surviving.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us in terms of how we can use our privilege?
Well, to be honest with you, how I feel, I have no place telling anybody who comes from a different type of background that is, like, cisgendered or minority, anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I apologize if I'm not speaking, like, in proper terms. I'm just speaking from the chest right now just to get it out.
You hash it out and then we'll...
Yeah, it's that learning curve.
Yeah.
What I think I can do is people who fit my bill with the privilege and it's that education for them. It's that talking to them, because you listen to people who are most like you, I find. Mm-hmm. Like, as much as Oprah can say everything, she's not going to get to someone. She's not going to get to my demographic, unfortunately. You know what I mean? The straight, white, cis male.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you think you're better than Oprah?
I do not think I'm better than Oprah. I do not think I'm better than Oprah, but I guarantee you my good friends aren't listening to Oprah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Where it's more of just having that discussion with them and actually having the talk. Because I think, and you need some of that discussion with other people too, but it's that listening. I really, because if we're all just sitting around, again, I said I should be talking to people who are more like me in how we can fix this situation, what we can be doing. We also need to be listening what other people, I guess, can say about us. I don't have the answers for that.
So kind of taking the effect of, and this is not an exact kind of frame to summarize this, but almost trickle up economics, wherein we're taking what we know, what needs to be done, and then trying to spread it up as much as possible.
I guess, yeah. Yeah.
So if we say that trickle down economics is horseshit, which we're aware, what is the, and I don't have the answer to this, but what is the opposite of trickle up social consciousness?
I don't know if I'm the person with that answer.
That's hard, right?
Yeah. To be honest with you, and I'll say it, I feel like I don't look at other people's problems. I just kind of focus on like what I'm going through. So I'm pretty ignorant to what people are dealing with out there.
Yeah.
And it's selfish. It's more of just that trying to get by and get the people I'm closest with first before I help anybody else.
Yeah.
And at a small point, like I guess on a smaller scale, I would say that's a little more tolerable and acceptable. On a mass scale, well, you can help people. You don't have to worry about helping the ones you're closest to. You've got everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that whole... And I feel like it's a cop-out when I say just be a good person. It's a real cop-out because it's not really an answer. Do you know what I mean? That's something we all already know.
Exactly. And where's the advocacy in that? But at the same time, I think you really hit it with the listening. That's kind of the fundamental that if they're not listening... whatever we say falls on deaf ears.
Yeah.
That was an offensive term, I think. Whatever we say doesn't get heard. I don't know how to properly do that.
I want to make a joke there, but I'm not going to.
Let's talk about this politically correct and then make fun of disability. That's a great idea.
I'm going to say this right now. I think everything is what's the word? Everything's open to comedy. Yeah. That's in my opinion. Because either it's all okay or none of it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's when I promised our listeners that I would call you on your misandry or misogyny if there was any. How did you feel about Louis C.K.?
Well, to be honest with you, I think Louis C.K. is a great comedian. I really appreciate his work. What he did was definitely fucked up. Mm-hmm. Now the question is, my question, I guess, what I would ask is, how long does somebody have to pay for that? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't think anybody has any right to tell anybody that they can't make a living doing what they're doing if people are willing to pay for them. If people don't want to go see his shows, that's, I think, the most powerful way you can do it. If enough people don't want to see him and show that by not giving their money or not giving the clicks, that's how that situation goes away. But it's one of those situations, again, when it comes to comedy, it's all got to be out there. There's nothing to be exempt, or else then all of a sudden it starts a snowball where everything starts getting exempt.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And that's me just appreciating comedy. Now, I'm not saying you have to enjoy it, you don't say you have to support it. But it's got to be there to be able to be said. Or else if we put a cap on that, we're doing something dangerous, I think.
That's fair. And if it's not funny, it's not funny.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. I'm someone who I don't really find rape jokes funny. Mm-hmm. And I totally get why people don't want them being said. I do think, though, there is something that can be learned and there's something that can be gained from that, in my opinion.
So when you say that, I get where you're going with this, and I want to ask for an example, but I don't necessarily think you have to justify it with one. You know what I mean? I find it hard just because, and it's one of those things where it's saying it's okay in any level does inspire that fear in me, speaking from the opposite side.
Yeah.
I know saying it's not okay at any level is immediately we've got too much censorship and that doesn't allow us to do anything and everything becomes policed.
Yeah.
But that same level of, and maybe talk about a circle moment, maybe this goes back to what we were first discussing in terms of what's okay and what's policing and how do we feel about ratings on different things. And should this be rated or should there be anything along those lines? I don't want to feel like it's socially acceptable for people to make rape jokes or openly joke about rape.
I do agree that there is definitely a time and a place, but I feel like what I was referring to is more of a comedy type of entertainment where you're expecting, like South Park, for example. You know, when you're going to watch South Park, and I feel like maybe a rape joke is not really their forte, but when you're going to South Park, you have a certain level of what to expect from these guys.
Yeah.
When you go into a comedy club that's at a bar, most likely you're going to have that. You got to be at least 19 to get in here, so there's going to be some pretty raunchy stuff.
And that's fair. And even those shows have a...
Yeah.
This
like
show is not intended for younger.
Yeah, discretion, Because I've performed at shows where they've actually had rules of what you couldn't say, and rape jokes were one of them. I was always just a little peeved by that. Just for the reason being, to me it comes off as saying, this act, which is obviously a horrible thing, is not okay. But I can make a joke about the Holocaust, which is a horrible event in itself. And I don't feel like distinguishing those two and putting one on a pedestal and the other one's not.
Oh, okay. So, and I completely get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
I guess my thought is, say it's a specific venue.
Yeah.
If that specific venue is known to be a safe space. So say, for example, let's take it the opposite way. You're allowed to make rape jokes, but you're not allowed to make jokes about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
If you are doing this, say, in Berlin next door to the Jewish Museum, that makes sense to me. Why you would be allowed to make certain jokes and not ones about the Holocaust. If you're in a venue that is known as a safe space for LGBTQ individuals, it makes sense to me that you wouldn't be able to make jokes about sexuality or gender, but you're allowed to make jokes about the Holocaust.
Again, I can see your point, and I totally get where you're going with it. I disagree.
Okay.
Just for the reason being of this world, and again, speaking from my privilege, again, this might be my extreme point of view, but comedy has no boundaries in that way. Now, you don't have to like it. Hell, if it's your venue, you are allowed to tell these comedians you're not allowed to touch these topics. That's up to you. I'm not going to tell a business owner what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
But as from a strictly comedic point of view, or in comedy, I've always viewed as it's deconstruction of what we view in this world, I guess. It's just one of those things that I think will always just be whatever it is you've gone through, people have gone through stuff, and I don't want to equate the two, but each one of you guys, we can't differentiate the two, so therefore it's all out there. And that's just me. Now, again, if you're gonna, your Holocaust one in Berlin, poor taste. I'll admit, I can say when something's in poor taste. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be... I don't think that there's sometimes to say things and sometimes there isn't. But that freedom to say it. To spit everywhere.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's just my opinion.
And I think that's a really good point that you have to where we've got such a global media as well. Being able to say that you're free to say it. You're free to say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But also you have to understand if you are going to say it in a certain area. If, say you post something on Facebook, if it doesn't meet what Facebook's guidelines are, you can't argue with what someone else's guidelines are.
Yeah.
If they have given you the platform, you have to meet within the guides of that platform.
Yeah.
And that's honestly a really good way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And I guess where the fear stems is when we look at the ideas and attitudes that are being put through on different platforms as someone walking down the street or experiencing the world just as it is are the only platforms that were allowed out there. The only kind of jurisdiction is governmental law.
Yeah.
So there's the fine line of censorship. There's actually a law that says you can say whatever and believe whatever you want in your own home. You can be as racist and horrific as you want in your own home, so long as it's in your own home and in the constraints of your own home.
I remember many years ago learning about hate speech in Canadian law, and I remember, and this was back in 2012, so my information's 7 years out, could be 7 years outdated.
Yeah.
It was, hate speech is not a crime punishable when you speak it, but when it's printed. It's a crime there. When you can print it and hand it out, or a website, you can take it down, but when it comes to, let's just say me and you just started getting all Nazi in here. We're not going to do that. Just in case someone thinks that.
Yeah.
But that is a conversation where it's that freedom of speech right there.
Yeah.
Again, I feel in this, I guess I just got to nut up on this. You can say whatever it is you want. But be prepared for the backlash you're going to get for it. You can't say, well, that's just my opinion, and use that as a defense for something.
It's sure, that's your defense, but I'm still going to call you an asshole for it.
Oh, totally. And I think that's in your complete right for it, too.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel.
And I think you're right, too. It also boils down to the consumer power, where it's
Yeah.
Whatever you want to invest your money into or support in that way, that's what you invest and support your money into. So here's another question then.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech not printed down. Catcalling.
Catcalling is douchey as all hell. What is the question? Is it acceptable or is it punishable?
Both?
Punishable by law, it's if you're threatening someone's safety in terms of like actually like calling and like informing them of what you plan to do. Do you know what I mean? Like a
yes.
genuine.
If you are threatening, if I say I'm going to grab your tits,
yeah,
that's punishable.
Yeah.
What if I yell nice tits?
I don't think so. I don't think so for the reason being douchey, definitely. It's one of those things, though, that is different for different people, I guess. Where you can argue a threat, though, is always assumed to be dangerous until proven otherwise. I guess, do you know where I'm saying?
Yes, but is our current law not innocent until... And now we're just speaking...
Yeah, exactly.
We're completely speaking out of privilege and doing this hypothetically. But yes, are we innocent until proven guilty? Or can someone yell nice tits at me and I get mad at them for that?
I can't tell you whether you can't get mad at somebody or not. I do think the innocent until proven guilty is something that is necessary just because the opposite is so much... I don't want to say so much more dangerous, but it's so easy to go down that road, and then pretty soon, where do we stop? Where are we going to be?
If someone says nice tits and I tell them to go fuck themselves, we're both in the right then.
I think you absolutely have the right to tell them to go fuck
If someone
themselves.
says nice tits and I punch them in the face, I'm at fault.
I think, here's the thing, legally, yes, as a person, I wouldn't blame you in the slightest if you punch somebody.
But they can press charges against me and I don't have a candle towards it. Also, I do not have a good right hook for anyone who's curious.
Missy, I think you could throw everything you've got into that and probably knock out Mike Tyson. I don't know what you're saying. I just think it's one of those things that... Let's do the reverse then.
Okay.
You call out to me nice tits.
Yes.
And if I hit you, do you know what I mean? Those are viewed as very different things. Do you see where I'm going, though?
Yes, I do indeed. So... Brief intermission.
I was going to say, I stumped her, guys. I've got it. No. If I stumped Missy, I feel like something's going wrong. Like I'm going to die later tonight because that's like the peak of my life.
No, I'm stumped quite frequently. Like, there's a couple things. Sometimes I don't text coherently. There are quite a few things that have left my brain in a question of a state lately. But, so if I yell nice tits and you punch me, I will say this has happened before to a friend. Not in this exact context, but in the context it was... Let's boil it down to much simpler times. The year was 2010.
I was 16.
I know, right? The great year. One of my friends, a sprightly little individual, punched someone for a punch buggy.
Oh, really? Yeah, I remember doing that.
Yeah. The good old punch buggy, the Volkswagen Beetles. This individual was, and she gave him a good little knock, like a solid, for those of you listening at home, a decent force. And then later, potentially 2 days later, let's say, for argument's sake, said individual, who was a rather tall and burly gentleman, also saw a punch buggy and smoked her for it.
Yeah.
Nailed her for it.
Like, and by smoked her, you mean went above and beyond what she did to him.
I'm talking, like, force behind. There was bruising for a couple days.
Yeah.
Like, there was a dead arm, as one would call it in a junior high age. Yes, the limp-linging arm that you fling around about. And it was a really shitty situation, because it made punch buggy not fun for anyone.
Yeah.
However, was he in the wrong?
Well, if I'm the judge in this, if I'm the principal in this scenario, and this is me just speaking not on a legal term, this is just me speaking on a personal term.
Yes. In the court of Dylan, in this alternate universe.
Yeah. Keep your hands to yourself. You got to realize, and I would say this to the guy, because he's bigger, you have to adjust because that's not a receipt that you gave her. You put extra into that.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think, right there. Because, like, if I did it with my girlfriend, you know what I mean? I wouldn't haul off with, because if she puts her 80% in, it's different than my 80% in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to adjust for that. That's that maturity, and that's that understanding, I guess, of knowing your own strength.
Yeah, when you have a younger sibling, and then your younger sibling comes over and hits you, and then you wallop the younger sibling back, the first thing that your parental unit comes back and hits you with is, hey, you're bigger than her.
Yep.
For those of you with younger siblings, we know that phrase all too well.
I was the younger sibling.
Oh,
I got pounded.
Fuck you.
I got pounded.
No, I was the older sibling, and I learned that lesson, and on the opposite side to speak to, what happens if the other person is the one that smoked, or what if the little girl could smoke really hard? My sister can,
Yeah.
and the answer is why I had to eat it. You just have to deal with that.
Oh, punch buggy not being fun. Those are dark times.
I know, right?
No, that's interesting though. Yeah, it definitely is one of those. I want to say I don't like that society's a bit sexist when it comes to like people, like when it comes to an abuse case or not abuse case, but like a situation where a girl hits a man, it's okay, but if a guy hits a girl, it's okay or not okay. For the reason being, what does that say about the woman? Is she automatically a victim immediately? Does like that? I feel like that seems like a little undermining too.
No.
That's just how I read it.
And you're right, and that's what right now there's you want to talk about unconscious biases that go both ways.
Yeah.
In a divorce case, 90% of the time, or higher percentage actually, women will win custody.
I plan to never get married or anything like that for that reason. I just know what guys get fucked in that situation.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, I think it's too, we have a lot of judges who are male, and also that whole, I can't separate a kid from their mother, or, you know, like, she probably needs it more than he does, or fuck that guy, you know, she's you know what I mean? It's that bias we have in our culture.
Yeah. And that bias is the same sort of bias that exists when we're talking about different assault charges and things along those lines. Was she asking for it? Was she easy?
Oh, yeah.
Was it...
I hate that the phrase "boys will be boys" has become such a phrase that's used with like that connotation of sexual assault. When I was a kid, boys were, and this is gonna make me sound like I'm back in my day.
Yeah.
Boys were boys was something when a boy did something stupid that led to the worst thing, a little bit of financial property damage. Like they broke a window, something stupid that kids do, that all kids do.
But also the other thing being it was accidental.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
Like, we had kids will be kids. And, like, my parents, I grew up in an awesome household where everything my older male cousins could do, I could do.
Yeah.
If they were running around shirtless, little Missy went on shirtless. If they shaved their head, I had a brush cut for half my childhood. Like, my parents lived their life that way.
Yeah.
And kids will be kids, boys will be boys. Like, my parents used to say that, but it was always about, like, they'd come downstairs, like you said, windows broken, something smashed, what have you.
Yeah.
We were playing too hard.
Oh yeah, we put a hole in the wall. That's what it was.
Exactly.
Was this whole, when people say, "Oh, boys will be boys," like, listen, fuck you.
It was never it was never me punching my sister. It was never me telling my sister to go to hell. I say my sister because I abused the poor little fuck when she was a child. That was not boys will be boys. That was Missy's grounded for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and sibling rivalry. Siblings siblings always have that like little bit of leeway where children, and I think too with children too, when it comes to children altercations, the law when that gets involved, I think, I don't want to say like every case is different. Obviously, I just feel like there should be a little more like of a leash on that situation. Like not every kids that get into brawls when they're like in elementary school or anything like that need the police involved. It's one of those like children fight. Let's figure out how to fix this before it happens again. That's just me.
And where is that line between it was a scuffle on the playground and it was an assault?
Exactly. And that definitely is one of those, you know, especially too, you got to look at, you know, who comes out worse in the situation. Like what kid has the worst face out of it. And does the person who comes out looking better, do they feel bad about it? Do you know what I mean? It's that remorse too, I think.
But then if we look at that in the...
I'm talking about just the playground. Because when we go, once you get older, we all know better. Do you know what I mean?
But here we go, Dylan. Where do we teach the children? Where did they learn it first?
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
I used to, but when I was a kid, I was a scrapper, like in elementary school. And by scrapping, I mean we were rolling on the ground trying to knock each other out. You know what I mean? Just and I want to say stupid kid stuff, but it wasn't like we'd fight. Next recess, hey, how you doing? You know, it wasn't like, and again, every situation is different, and I didn't grow up in a world with social media.
Yeah.
I didn't get Facebook until 2009.
Yeah. And I'll say part of it, too, is the consent.
Oh, totally.
And that's a big one that I hadn't really thought into the fighting side of things.
Yeah.
Because we talk about consent on a sexual basis constantly. But I have a friend who's quite the scrapper, and given the opportunity, I'm sure would still be a scrapper, but in high school, it was very much like, it wasn't a sucker punch or fuck you, let's fight. It was a, hey, do you want to go fisticuffs?
Yeah.
And they, like, fully consent, like, fuck yeah, let's fight. And they go out and just deck each other, call it a day.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
We used to do that all the time. It was a slap fight, basically. We would we'd stand there, and who could take the hardest slap by the end of it? You know, someone's got their nose bleeding, but they're not giving up, and then it was the slap heard throughout the hallways that it just went, whoa. Like, I heard that down there. I was like, we should go check to make sure, because that sounded like that stung.
Yeah. Exactly, but it's the level of consent. It's not someone being, you know, walked by and smacked or unsolicited smackings.
Yeah. I remember, this opened my eyes. I remember a friend of mine told me a story. He was a waiter. And he was with a coworker, and she was waiting on a table of 4 gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And I say gentlemen, again, quotation.
In quotation. I don't think you've used gentlemen, like...
Yeah. I just say gentlemen to describe older people, I guess.
This old motherfucker.
Yeah. They tipped her, and she went to leave, and he smacked her ass. And he told her that she should press charges because that's assault. And I remember, because I was 19 at the time hearing this, I had a very different view of what assault was. Because I just had a more, like, hardened, okay, assault is, you know, like a to-the-face type of attack. You know what I mean? Because when I was younger, I always viewed that as, like, a more of, like, not, like, you hit him back type thing for that. Like, if I was your employee and you decked him for that, yeah, he's banned. Mm-hmm. You deserve it. But I never thought of a thing to bring that to the police. But now that I'm older, I understand, like, no, I totally understand why, because it's not right. You don't do that. You don't put your hands on people. You just don't. I know that's oversimplification, but I feel like that's something that shouldn't have to be taught.
Oh, the growth from Dylan. The man who wanted to deck the man who tried to solicit the buskers on the boardwalk. To the man on the podcast saying, you don't put your hands on people. You just don't.
I do have my slip-ups. I'm a flawed person like anyone. Hey, Thanos was flawed, so hey, you know.
Oh, my God.
Here's something. So this, here's the thing. I remember saying this when I was like 19. It's all when I was 19. 19, 20.
19 was a busy year for you in terms of phrases. You just sat down with a tape recorder going.
I was a jackass. If I could go back and punch 19-year-old me in the face, I'd hit me with a chair.
Don't worry, I'm sure a few people want to do that.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God. My girlfriend, man, she met me when I was like 19, turning 20. She's like, I'd murder you if I got the chance.
Were we friends then? We were, weren't we?
I think I was 20, 2021-ish when we met. Because it was the first summer after my college, so I would have been 20, turning 21. Yeah. But I remember we went to, I think it was called The Grind. It's during Pride Week. It was that big dance party on the Citadel Hill.
The wet spot.
Yeah. And that day, I had 2 different encounters with women. Mm-hmm. I figured when I was going down there, if I were to get grabbed or anything, it would be by a gentleman, a gay man. Just because you're going to a place, for Pride Week, I'm thinking, okay, no girl's gonna hit on me there.
Yeah. You think try dancing at a gay club. It doesn't work that way. They're everywhere.
And I had been going up to the Father's Mustache. The rooftop patio had that staircase up there. It's the most narrow thing ever.
Mm-hmm. 4 drinks and then you're going to die if you walk down it.
Well, here comes a woman. She's probably in her, mid-50s. She comes stumbling down the stairs. She's got someone, behind her. And I'm just like, oh, I'm going to stand off to the side. My girlfriend is standing out of the hallway, so she doesn't really see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And the woman comes in, she's like, you should have been here earlier. And I said, oh, had some fun, did we? She's like, we can have some fun later. And she grabs my crotch. And I literally just go, nope. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, because that's never happened to me unconsensually. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had that's what a fucking girls deal with all the time.
Yeah.
I literally had the, oh my God moment. And my girlfriend didn't see it. I didn't say anything to her. Later that night at the grind, we were dancing, and all of a sudden, I feel someone grab my left ass cheek, full squeeze, and then rub up the back. I turn around getting ready to deck somebody, because I think it's a dude. It's this small little 5'2", 20-year-old girl who's got the typical feminist bangs. Do you know what I mean? That type of haircut.
That was offensive, calling you on the misogyny, but okay.
But,
yes.
But when I say...
Can I speak to the manager, but for feminist haircut? I've got you.
Just the straight bangs.
Yeah.
I say that for... When I say that, everybody knows what I mean. So I would like to apologize for the people that I offended.
I would also like to just accept that apology. Thank you.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be offensive if I said a stereotypical feminist haircut?
No.
No?
Or yes, it is still.
It's still offensive. Okay.
If I say a stereotypical... Like, I can't say anything because it was going to be offensive. But if I said, like, a stereotypical black man haircut.
I would know what you're talking about, I think.
But it's still offensive.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Um...
Because can I say a stereotypical white boy? Yes, I can, because it's the
yeah.
fade over here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I will totally give it to me. If I
You have it right now.
Yeah,
So.
give it to me, yeah. Damn. I'm a basic white boy. All I need is an IPA and I'm golden.
Oh, my God.
But I didn't, and she started dancing towards me, and I'm like, if you were a dude right now, I'd punch you in the face. But I'm like, I can't do anything here, because I would look, it would be automatically be put on me as someone who, I'm the abuser in this situation, or I am the person
Because you're a man. And
because I'm a man. I'm like, and I'm literally, we left probably about 20 minutes later, I'm like, girls go through that shit every time they go out.
Mm-hmm. I
literally was like, okay, yep, anytime I know a guy that's doing that, no, dude, don't. Fuck off.
So let's play a fun game here now, and this is, I do need to wrap up shortly here.
Sure.
But imagine now, you turn around, it's a guy there, but you can't deck him because you're a tiny woman, and you know that if he wanted to, he could crush you like a bug.
Yep.
If you turned around and you tried to deck this person, you know it would legitimately just feel like a stick, just like whoop-hap. Mm-hmm. It would not do anything to assist you in this case.
Yeah.
And you know that if you let him do it, you can probably walk away, but if you try to resist, he'll probably grab and pull you back.
Yeah. I would be completely... I don't think I'm in the position to tell anybody to fight back in that situation.
Hmm.
I think I know what I would do just because that's what I can speak from.
Yep.
Do whatever you can to get you out of that situation as safe as possible. So I don't want to say if it means taking it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Just accept, like, realizing the extent of how this will go.
And that's everyone.
And living to fight another day type thing.
Yeah, any person who's been in that situation will know what you mean by that and not take offense to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then when you listen to allegations and like, oh, she wanted it, oh, she didn't fight back, oh, she didn't do this.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope when it comes to those type of cases.
Yeah.
I still think it's the innocent until proven guilty. That doesn't mean you can't look into it and make your own assumptions about it.
And that doesn't mean you don't have a full-fledged court case to prove guilty.
Yeah. The worst part about that, so if this is a court case that goes to it and it's proven that the person is, not found guilty. I don't want to say innocent because you don't prove innocence, you prove non-guilt.
Yeah,
in a
fair
situation.
enough.
The stain of that, you can't wash that off, I find. For the most part. Like, I guess if you're like a Trump guy, you can.
Oof.
But, like, I think there's Bill Burr that said it best. He's like, not all white people live like the Kennedys. He said, for the normal working class type of guy, you can't escape that type of shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it becomes a witch hunt. It's our society that I feel like, I guess too, it's tricky. It's gray out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's shitty, but it goes both ways because when you've got the other side, you've got a girl who's assaulted, and then all of a sudden she's a slut, and that stains through as well.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's terrible. Somebody was telling me the other day about something that happened. Oh, it was a media thing.
Yeah.
But it's, oof.
Yeah. So the moral of the story of this podcast is that everything sucks, even Wonder Woman, and that's the end.
Wow. And you heard it here first, folks, here on the Ginger Binger podcast. Missy, I would like to say thank you for being a guest.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Happy to come back at any point in time.
Missy, you know I'm going to call you on that. That Wonder Woman story is going to, it's going to just fluctuate.
Yeah, well, I got real angry things about the DC movies. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm going to ask you about Batman v Superman next time.
I get real fucking mad, Martha. I get real fucking mad.
So, guys, thank you for listening, and until next time, keep on binging.